Oh, probably no Russ. We are live now. Hello, everybody. Come on in. We see you out there. Hi, everybody. Come on in. Creators Outlet says, hail. He says, smash that like button and ring that bell. Yes, please. We are live on YouTube as we speak, and YouTube now, because we're Indie Volt is monetized, we'll take super chats. So you can pay us to say things on the air within reason. We are TV MADLSV. But nothing too outlandish. But here's my official Chrome notification that we are live. How do you like that? Come on in, everybody. This is the Sunday Funnies for the 3rd of October, 2021. We are back. We are back up and running. Hope you're doing okay. I had to take last week off to celebrate this week. So it's all good. Took last weekend off to celebrate this weekend. So he celebrated a full rotation around the sun for me yesterday. Russ has mentioned me. He'll be here in the second half. We'll be joined by Mr. Russ Leach later. And in the meantime, we have a couple of great guests. We're going to run our opening, and then we're going to talk about fun things and funny books. All right. We'll see how the conversation strays. We try, Charles. You've been on here on the Sunday show before, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And you know how the conversation tends to wander at times.
Yeah, I just hope you're not going to talk about comics, Charles.
let's try to keep talking about comics today. And here we go. And again, welcome everybody to the Sunday Funnies, where we try to put the fun back in funny books.
Is that a new theme song?
It is. I had to change it. We have there's a trolling company out there that was copyright striking the old song. And we had to keep sending them evidence that we had permission to use it. So once we became monetized, we weren't going to take that chance. And Varian suggested that we change the opening number, so that's what we did.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, thank you for not using "Stairway to Heaven."
There we go.
Or a Beatles song. That'd have been fun, wouldn't it?
I'd have to look around for a great Beatles song to use as an opening.
The thing is, my friend in America, he's a musician and he writes and produces, and he gave me permission to use his tracks or some of his tracks on anything I do, written permission, signed, and all that. And I did, and I got a copyright notice, and I had to take it down because his publishing company didn't agree with him, and he writes his stuff. But I suppose they're protecting him as well, aren't they? Really?
Well, he might not own his own publishing rights.
That too. Yeah,
but clearly,
probably doesn't. But anyway, come on in, everyone. We see you out there. Thanks for tuning back in, especially after last week's bit of disappearance. So we appreciate each and every one of you out there. Creators Outlet still in the house. Just signed up on Glenn's pre-launch. Yes, there's a link in the chat for Glenn's book for his pre-launch. I think I've got one here also for Charles's book. Let me grab that really quick here. Let me figure out how to grab that here.
It's been printed. There it is.
Wow.
Has it? Wait a minute. I got to see that. Give me a second here.
Yeah, get the glare off it.
No, it's okay. We still can see it. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Shiny cover.
The trade dress is a little bit different than what you see in the background due to some marketing decisions by the publisher and myself.
Okay.
But there it is. It is from the printer, and I've sent out the first batch to backers, and the second batch is going out probably this week, maybe even a third and fourth batch. it's still available on Indiegogo in demand.
Great. And is that saddle stitched or square bound?
No, it's square bound, and
awesome.
That was a
Cool. I
last
love that.
minute. It's 54 pages. Some of them are blank, which is bizarre. I thought it was going to be 52 pages, but I guess their format required that there's a couple of blank pages in the back. So I think the next issue, if it has to be 54 pages, I'll just put some extra stuff on those pages.
I think you'll find if you do that, Charles, they'll add those blank pages anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm wondering. I have to ask the publisher about that to see if they have to be there no matter how many pages it is or what the deal is. But it is square bound, and it is not on newsprint, which Varian will enjoy. But it is non-glossy paper. So it looks really nice, and it looks a lot more like a book than a comic book, which is great.
Yeah. I love those old prestige format books.
Yeah.
And your link is now in the chat as well.
Thank you.
And since we've done that, we could probably introduce ourselves. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman. I am a longtime alternative and independent comics creator and producer and publisher. I've done just about everything in the comics direct market that you can imagine, and then some. Retailed for over a decade. I met my wife while I was retailing, and I've coordinated conventions. I've self-published quite a number of products in a number of different ways, including a local entertainment and comics newspaper for a decade, and comics under the Arrow and Weeby and Massive brands over the years. Right now, I'm resurrecting Arrow Comics once again for the direct market with products that we'll be offering every month as soon as we get up and rolling. It's just taking us a little bit to kick that can down the hill and start it rolling. As soon as this paper shortage straightens up just a little bit, we'll be back up and running. But quality sometimes takes a little bit longer than expected. So we deeply appreciate you listening today. I am joined here by two special guests, Glenn B. Fleming, who has been on the show quite a bit, and Charles Santino, who I think has been on once or twice. So, Charles, why don't you introduce yourself to our radio audience?
Sure. Charles Santino, been involved in comics since the late 80s, started with Marvel, writing Conan, What the, Savage Tales Volume 2, still around, and now producing a creator-owned project, Rammer, Rammur, just finished a campaign on Indiegogo, still on demand. And anybody that wants to reach out to me on Facebook or check it out on Indiegogo, they can figure out how to get a copy, which has just come from the printer. I'm going to be at the New York Comic Book Convention. I will be walking around. I don't have a table. Anybody that's going to be there that wants to press the flesh with me, that's great. I'd love to meet anybody that's interested in meeting me, and we can make that happen very easily.
Great. Yeah. And also this morning, Mr. Glenn Fleming. Glenn, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Randy. Hi, everybody. My name is Glenn Fleming. I'm an English writer, artist, cartoonist, and publisher. I've written and published books on many different subjects, such as FIFA World Cup soccer, a couple of science fiction novels, children's books, a book about NASA Apollo astronauts who didn't get to the moon, JFK assassination, D-Day. I like to travel. I wrote a book about Easter Island and a few others. I currently publish Comics Unlimited, which is a 100-page bi-monthly magazine about comics. You can find all those books and magazines on Amazon. Also, in 2017, I released a DVD about my 2 visits to comic legend Jack Kirby's home in California. And I'm about to put an updated version of the DVD and the new book I've written about those visits. And that will be live on Indiegogo on Tuesday, the 5th of October, which I believe is this coming Tuesday. And this is to mark 60 years since Fantastic Four #1 was published. And Randy has kindly put the URL in the chat that you can sign up for more information.
Yep.
And I'm currently working on my cartoon character Hatch's second comic book. The first book, again, is on Amazon. And I'm writing and illustrating 2 more science fiction novels. Another children's illustrated book is complete and in post-production. And if that wasn't enough, I'm also producing storyboards for a Nashville, Tennessee-based country singer's music video.
whose name needs to remain nameless?
I can't say at the moment.
Okay. Is it somebody everybody knows?
I'm not really up to speed on country singers, but yeah, I would guess so. Yeah, I don't. It's
Awesome.
not. It's not Dolly. It's not Dolly Parton.
Oh,
but I wish it was.
Glenn, I got a question for you. What were the dates of those meetings with Kirby?
October 1988 and October 1991.
Interesting.
At his home.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
how long were those meetings?
Oh, the first one was about 6 or 7 hours. I was there. They couldn't get rid of me, And the second time, they had to go out, so I was only there a couple of hours. So I spent about 10 or 12 hours with him in all. Got to know as much as you can in that time, but I got to know Jack Kirby rather than Jack Kirby. It was we didn't talk all the time about comics. Jack talked about his life and some crazy stories on there, and so I'm putting out an updated version of that. And
did Roz make sandwiches for you?
Roz, yeah, she gave us a full lunch with nice cold meats and rice and salads and bread and coffee and stuff, And then the second time young Jeremy was coming around, the grandson, so we had pizza, which was very nice. But yeah, she fed us, and she was great. Beautiful, beautiful lady. Did you ever meet her, Charles?
No, but I've heard only great things about both of them, and that she was very gracious.
I can't tell you how gracious and fantastic those two people were. Never mind what Jack Kirby did on the page, which is obviously awesome. Mm-hmm. As a couple of human beings, just two human beings, they were so together. I can't really explain it. You'd have to witness it. But she was just absolutely fantastic. What a beautiful woman! What a gracious woman! And they didn't know me from anybody. I didn't turn up out of the blue. I did ring them before I went, but they were just so welcoming and everything. They were just,
they knew enough about you. Just being gracious with Jack.
And it also must have been very interesting to both of them, but especially Roz, that after he slaved away for 25 years in the industry, all of a sudden there was fandom, starting in the 60s, and the attention that was lavished upon him must have been. It's hard to imagine the awe and the amazement of both of them, but especially Roz, because she was not the creator. They just must have been bowled over by the fact that there were these legions of people that were so interested in what Jack was doing.
I can agree with that, but I can also point out maybe that if you faced German Panzers and Waffen SS, I would imagine that meeting people who want to be friendly with you is not as difficult.
Pretty easy.
He's facing the tanks and she's worried about him facing the tanks. I would imagine that meeting people at conventions pretty tame next to that.
Yeah.
Who seem perfectly harmless.
Exactly. Allegedly. Yeah. It was great to get there.
Joe in the house. Good morning. Good morning, Joe. Hope you're doing well. Greetings, sinners, from the Sin Killer Marv in the house. Marv, hope you're doing well. Dan, I want to say Plagle. Boob Dan at Boob Dan Art. Morning, friends or fiends, friends. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Dan. Hope you're doing well. Indie Volt, Charles Santino is there. There's the link for Charles's in demand for Rammer page. Hail, friend Pleagle. Sin Killer, something must be done about the shipping to Europe. Minimum wage sucks. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Apex Comics. Hello, Randy, Glenn, Charles. Hello, chat. Hello, Apex. Hope you're doing well. And that just reminds me to go over to my Facebook page and make things public here. Just in case somebody is over on that page this morning. It always pops up as friends only on Facebook. I have no idea why it does that. So want to say greetings to Marvy. Marvy's over there. So as well.
Have you seen what Marvy's put in that chat?
I'll have to scroll down here. Says Glenn, we hate you too.
Apex says, wow, 7 hours with Jack Kirby and Miles, but we hate you too.
King of Comics. Yep.
I know you don't really, Mouth.
Hail, everybody. Hail. Marvy also says, writing Conan. What? My favorite comic book run. Oh, Charles. There we go.
Thank you. I think.
Now, did you sit down and read all of Robert Howard's stories before you wrote Conan?
I did not. I read a bunch of them. And once I got the assignment, there was no time. So I figured I better just dive in and meet my deadlines.
Yeah.
Do you remember what numbers that you did?
Yeah, 214 through 220. And they're all single issue stories because we were kind of filling, and I didn't know from month to month if it was going to be my last month. So I didn't want to get anything going that wasn't going to keep going.
I hear you.
Was going to keep going.
They just called you up and said, send us one more.
Yeah.
Then they call you up and say, send us one more.
And of course, you never, a lot of times you don't hear that you're off the book. You find out because they just stop calling you.
Oh, wow.
Or you hear from a third party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried tells a great story about getting fired from Saturday Night Live. He got a fan letter, and the girl says, "I'm so sorry." And he was like, "What?" A fan knew, and he didn't know.
Oh,
well, there you go.
Crazy. And Gilbert's written a couple of, I believe, Superboy comics. In the past.
Yes, one. I think it was just one. Yeah.
Was it?
I think so.
I've got it back here in my stack of long boxes. I know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, always fun.
And I always like to talk about the fact that when I was writing Conan, it was selling about 100,000 copies a month. That was a borderline of cancellation at the time.
At the time, yeah.
At the time. Now you sell 100 copies a month, you might be the #1 comic that month.
Exactly. Yep. Chuck, thanks for listening in. Says, if you're taking questions, I'm preparing for a new crowdfunding campaign. My first. I'd like to ask, I see you are both, Charles and Glenn, choosing Indiegogo.
Well,
what was your reason?
Yeah. Go ahead.
What was your reason for choosing Indiegogo over Kickstarter or other crowdfunding options?
Yeah, Chuck's a backer, so thank you, Chuck. Your book is on the way, and I don't remember all of the reasons I picked Indiegogo, but I think was I think that there was a lower threshold of what you could keep. That let's say you had a goal of $5,000, but you only got to $500, and I think that was the limit. You could keep everything that was as long as you got to 500, you could keep everything, even though you didn't get anywhere near your 5,000. I think that was one of the reasons. There were several others. I would just take a look, and rather than look at the templates for Indiegogo and Kickstarter, I would go online and just Google the comparisons, and there are some pretty astute people who've kind of summarized the differences. And I don't really, I'm not saying, oh, you got to go with Indiegogo. It really depends on your own needs.
It's very true.
Yeah, the main reason I went for Indiegogo this time is because similar to what Charles has said. If you're any amount, if you're £1 under on Kickstarter, that's the end of it. But on Indiegogo, you get the choice of going with it.
Yeah,
that's the main reason.
I Indiegogo'd the Indie Revolt book through Indiegogo, and that was after looking at both platforms and doing my research. So either platform could work for you. Just go through and do that research. Don't be afraid to look into it before you jump into it. So
like absolutely. I said, my main reason was that because it was and as you know, filling all that stuff in and getting it all online is a nightmare.
It is.
Yes,
and
it is. Give yourself 4 days to do that.
Yeah, and if you
at least a full day, especially if you don't, especially if you already have the graphics prepared. Make sure you have some great graphics. Yeah, because we're in a graphic medium. You want people to see your book, see what the book looks like, see the cover, and be able to be branded by that campaign. You want to really impress.
Yeah, and if you, like I say, if you're going to spend a lot of time, and as you know, you've just said, there's a lot of time, a lot of hours in there, a lot of a lot of drive and heartache in there trying to get the damn thing done, and then to fail for the sake of £1 or $1 is
there was a lot
wins for me.
There was a lot of reasons why I decided to jump with Indiegogo on the campaign. For one, I was doing a print on demand book, so as long as your base price covers your overhead and your cost for expenses, you can have a flexible goal. It didn't matter to me that I had to reach a certain dollar amount or a certain amount of backers. And that was very important to me. Plus, with Indiegogo, I love ordering books off of Indiegogo because the money comes out of my account immediately. It's done. You don't have to sit there and get a last minute surprise when all of a sudden you've got 50 or $100. And for some people, that's not a lot of money. But, if you're living like an artist, it can turn out to be a lot of money. You don't want to be caught with your pants down at the last minute trying to buy something and all of a sudden there's nothing in your account because of 2 or 3 Kickstarters that you had that hit all at once. I think that's a major problem for Kickstarter. Plus, at the time, the big one for me was the fact that there were so many people at the time, and it might not be so now, but at the time there were so many people playing with Kickstarter that it was driving me nuts. And it wasn't a political thing that I know of as much as just people wanting to troll and be vicious, who would go in and buy into a Kickstarter campaign, and just before it was fulfilled or just after it barely fulfilled or before it ended, yank their campaign from them. And all of a sudden, like what Glenn said, you were short, you didn't make it. Kickstarter wouldn't allow you to fulfill that campaign. So with Indiegogo, all of the backers that came in, and I did have a couple of backers back out from the Revolt book and the packages that I offered. That was fine. I understand people have, emergencies and that kind of thing. Not a problem. But there were people, from my understanding, there were people intentionally in Kickstarter that were doing this just to be vicious. And sometimes it was a very high up tier. And it was, I watched a couple of Kickstarters not make it because of it. They got crippled. And so I said the safest way for me to go was Indiegogo. And then once I put my campaign up there, I found, or started putting it up there, I found it really easy to do with Indiegogo. It does take a while, like what Charles says, but it was, step by step by step by step. Kickstarter might be the same way because I have not done a Kickstarter campaign or set one up, but I really like the ease that it had to get in and get out, and the everything about Indiegogo for me just hit me right as being good.
One of the issues I had with Indiegogo was getting the images the right size. They looked fine, and then I'd load them in, and they were, postage stamp size, or so big that I was only looking at the middle of the image.
But
And
they do give you the sizes next to the box.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble figuring that out initially, and once I figured it out, I was able to resize the pictures to get them right.
They go by pixels, don't they, rather than a measurement.
Yeah. And also, talking about people backing out, I did have one person back out because I reached out to Ethan Van Sciver, and I had reached out to him a number of times to try to get his attention, and finally did. And he retweeted one of my tweets about Rammer and said, "This looks great." Well, I got 3 backers immediately because of Ethan's endorsement. And then I had somebody pull out and say, if you have his support, you don't have mine. And I thought, how stupid is that? What does that have to do with the content of,
or the quality of the book?
The quality of my comic. You liked it until somebody you don't like doesn't like it. So if you found out that the person, somebody you really hate, likes your favorite band, are you going to burn their records? It's just, it makes no sense.
No.
But it was a net gain. It was a net gain anyway.
A lot of these, especially inside of this industry, a lot of the politics don't make sense at all. So we're here at Indie Volt. We have to state repeatedly, because of that we are for good comics.
Yeah.
That's our promotion. We're here to talk about great comics. We're not here to talk about who people voted for. We're just here to talk about great, especially on this program. We want to talk about great fun comics and the fun and the passion
What a
behind
radical idea.
collecting comic books. Yeah.
That's
What a strange and radical idea. Yep. Black Belt is coming on. That's Russ Leach. He says hello all. He'll be here shortly, hopefully. Hi, Boob Dan. Russ, congratulations on your campaign. Yes, Russ Leach has started a campaign for the second book for Only Death Can Save Us. I'm sure he'll talk about that when he gets out online here. Please support Russ Leach's Only Death Can. Yep. Campaign. Cheers, Marv. Thank you, Apex. Okay. Yep. IGG had the better features for me, is what Russ said. It says if you find Indiegogo, if you fund Indiegogo, let you stay in demand as an open store front, which is a huge perk. That's where you're at now, Raymond.
Another big reason. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we've had I know a lot of campaigns that ran initially on Kickstarter and then jumped to Indiegogo specifically to be an in-demand store.
You can't be on both at the same time, can you?
Yes, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you can. You can run dual campaigns, but you take the risk, especially on Kickstarter, of draining, of not hitting your goal.
Which came first, Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
I think it was Kickstarter first.
Yeah, I'm pretty
because
sure.
I thought so, because I was going to say that Indiegogo have clearly learned from Kickstarters.
Or easier still, I think GoFundMe was first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because GoFundMe's been around for a long time. Then Kickstarter came in order to help industries and projects, and then Indiegogo come in to help the independent guys.
We touched briefly on how long it takes to, how much time you invest in just loading it in.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing for anybody considering Indiegogo or any crowdfunding campaign, you need to start promoting it months and months and months before you're launching, especially if you don't have a huge fan base. You want to build that fan base, make people aware of you, and then once you launch, it's almost 24/7. And in fact, I've kind of gone into hiding after the crowdfunding because I was just so wiped out from it. I just decided, okay, I'm just going to regroup and get the fulfillment going. And I figured, pretty soon I'm going to start. I do have an announcement later this year about Rammer, especially #1. It's really not #1 anymore. It's part 1 of 3-part. The first 3 issues are now connected in name only. They're self-contained stories, but they're going to be connected for marketing reasons. But there will be an announcement, and then I just figured I'm just going to start talking about #2. I probably will not do a crowdfunding for #2, and the reason for that will be part of the announcement towards the end of the year. But getting back to the time and the investment of time, it's just there's no way to overestimate the amount of time you're going to have to put into this to be successful. I think I did during the campaign. I think I did about 20 interviews, and I kept really good records of which interviews got me backers and how many backers and which backers came as a direct result from which interviews, so that next time around, if I'm pressed for time, I know who to go to and maybe who to put as secondary or tertiary potential interviewers, because I got nothing out of it. There's one interviewer that she first reviewed my comic and slammed it, and all her commenters underneath, her followers, slammed it. And then she interviewed me a week later, and I got 4 backers. So, you just don't know what's going to happen. But again, just be prepared. Just be prepared to be available 24/7 to promote the thing. And I built up a small fan base because of the pre-launch and during the launch. And it's it's not huge, but it's something. And then you build on that. And somebody, I think it might have been Daphne, mentioned recently, she said that she knows for a fact that a lot of the people who bought her second issue and third issue are people who did not buy the first issue, and maybe even vice versa. So you're all building this fan base that has some overlap to the original fan base, but not entirely. And when you get to the point where you can't even keep track of your fan base because there's too many people, that's where you want to be, when you don't know them all personally.
Chuck says, mine is a 400-page omnibus, a book I did with Norm Brayfogle. Oh, that's awesome, Chuck. And yeah, a lot of hours have gone into it already. Thanks for the input. Chuck, like I said, do your research. You might want to go on both ramps for that. So, or both platforms.
Is that GoFundMe still going?
Is that what?
GoFundMe, is that still operating?
Yeah.
GoFundMe's still up, yeah. You don't see a lot of comic, it's more charity.
Yes.
GoFundMe's, people looking to fund bills or
or
the like. Yeah. More of a charity type
and
thing.
And then there's Patreon as well.
Yeah. Patreon's a constant pay in for the talent.
Yeah.
They take a monthly chunk if you appreciate their work. I have a Patreon page, but I don't go out and solicit anybody for it because I'm so busy. I don't think I could keep up to any type of monthly schedule at this point.
Yeah, and that's another thing, being on different social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They're all huge time commitments, and I occasionally will put something on Twitter or Instagram, but when I was really active, it was mostly Facebook, and when I get back to it, that's what it'll be.
Yeah.
But don't Facebook want you to use their ads and stop the output, as it were?
Yeah, that's my biggest recommendation to anybody who's out there trying to market on Facebook is don't take out an ad, because when you do, they'll catch you in your algorithms and you're messed.
Yeah.
So when I had my newspaper, Flint Comics paper, I used to run 2 conventions every year, and I was really worried about getting word out for the fall convention. So I took one ad, or not one ad, but it was like $30. It reached out to a certain number of people in my area for the convention, and I literally watched my my viewers, my per post, which they used to give me a gauge. I literally ran from 3,000 down to 300, and they were constantly barraging me with, "Hey, you can reach more people if you pay us." It's like, "Hey, I reached 10 times more people before I paid you. I'll never pay you again."
Right. They're saying if you're willing to spend some money, well, guess what? Now you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and a few dollars more. Yeah, good name for a film, that, isn't it?
It literally was one of the reasons that prompted me to stop the Flint Comics paper, was because of the way I was treated there from Facebook. That and the Flint water situation dried up all of the advertising money I was making any kind of profit on. So it's just one thing after the next, and I'm like, you know what? I'm at 100. I'm done. So
the heavens have just opened. I think some of Daphne's weather's just hit. Yep, throwing it down now. Chucking it down, as we say.
Get a lot of wet over there anyway, right?
We do, yeah. Certainly getting some right now.
Ahoy, everyone. Hello, and hail. Hello. Great to see you here, Dan. Yep, okay. Apex, everybody saying hello to each other in the chat. Backed and shared. Friend, Charles Santino. Yes. Marvi says, a mistake I see a lot is that good comics don't make it because they don't promote. I barely make it, and I've been talking about it for 2 years. Marv's been someone who's been showing his art every, if you're a friend of his on Facebook, you get to see pieces of his work almost daily up there. He was always promoting, always pushing. He's doing a really nice project. He does the Sin Killer. It's wise to have your book 3/4 of the way to completely finished before campaigning. Yep.
Yeah, mine was completely finished.
Yeah.
I think the Revolt book was 90% done. So
yeah, my Kirby book is just in final edit now. I'm going to gather any day now, and I can just drop it into the book. You've seen the designs, Randy.
Yeah.
All the pages are ready. We literally need to just drop that text in there and just work it around, but it's basic 99% done.
All right. Yeah. Tyler from Draw and Talk. Every social media deserves your time and content. So pick like 2 or 3 you'll dedicate yourself to. That makes sense. I think you've done your Facebook ad. Oh, you've done your Facebook ad wrong. That's all I do all day at work. 700K made so far this year. It can work. You need to just learn. Didn't work for me at the time.
Seems like we should hire him to do it.
That was a good 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. Good morning, Randy, Charles, Glenn. Hello to Chad. Hello, Pop Culture Avenger. Hope you're doing well. PCA, what's up? Yep. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Everybody says good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Speaking of artwork, I'll show you a page from my new Hatch book, if I may. Is that okay?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There it is. Can you see that?
Boom.
Nice Kirby Crackle there.
Kirby Crackle. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold it still, and so we can see the figure in the middle. That's it right there. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And just for Russ, because I know he's watching, hand lettering on the board.
A lost art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Just for Russ, that. Just to wind him up again this morning.
Great sound effects. It drives me crazy when you see out of the font pile sound effects.
Yeah.
Have you worked out a color scheme for that yet?
I'm actually going to leave that page in black and white. The rest of the book is is hand painted full color. But I'm going to read. I'm thinking of leaving that in black and white just to jolt the viewer. You know.
The explosion was so intense it knocked the color right out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Wally Wood story, the atomic bomb story, with the high. It's one. I think it was in Frontline. It might have been Frontline Combat or Two Fisted Tales, but it's about the bombing of Hiroshima, and you see these high contrast scenes. Panels of the explosion and people being affected by it,
right.
And that kind of reminds me of it. You can definitely check that out online.
I will do. I've not seen that.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah, if I had a few minutes, I could dig it up. I've got all of the Russ Cockrum collections.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take,
and that was color. That was in a color. I'm trying to remember if it was black and white panels in a color comic. I do not remember.
I don't remember it either.
I only remember seeing it in black and white to begin with as a reprint.
Yeah. I do know that if you ever want to or take the time to dig up Wally Wood's work, it's best appreciated in black and white because he had such a command.
Absolutely. I have the artist edition.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And your jaw just drops when you look at this stuff.
Not just a command of detail, but of composition and of the of gray tones. Just amazing work. Just an accomplished artist. But MC Gaines had that. I am starting to wonder if it's not just sheer talent to go out and find the best of the best to work on his stuff. Because all of the EC books have very top-notch talent. And you look at the roster of talented artists they had working on Mad, it's just mind-boggling, especially nowadays, to go in and see such an eclectic mix of great cartoonists and artists working on that in one product.
Yeah, and all the whole EC line. Every once in a while, he would try somebody out new, and they might not be particularly good, and maybe they'd only get 1 or 2 assignments, and then he'd realize, okay, this is not for EC. But for the most part, I would say 90% of the work they churned out is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I guess that Frazetta guy had a couple of
I've heard of
stories. Yeah. Gene Colan was wet behind the ears for that. Alex Toth, I think, did a lot of early stuff there.
I just went was about a month ago. We went to the Frazetta Museum in Pennsylvania. I'd never been there before, and got the tour from his oldest son's wife. His oldest son, Frank Jr., and the wife. They rotate the tours, and it's really interesting to see what's there, even though all the work has been split up between the 4 siblings. Frank got first draft pick, and he's got Catgirl. and a lot of other great stuff, including some really early drawings and some film production work. And it's just it just blows your mind to look at this stuff and and to realize this is only a quarter. It's not even a quarter, because a lot of the stuff is in private hands now.
Yeah.
What happened with was it one of his people was stealing all the artwork?
Well, it was Frank Jr.,
right,
and who runs the museum. And what happened was, he was convinced that his brothers and his brother and sisters were going to walk away with the art, that they were going to take the art. And so he drove a backhoe into the museum. He had two people helping him, and he was going to he said he was going to take all the art and just put it in a secure place until it could be divided up properly.
right.
And naturally, the police did not take too kindly to that activity. And what mystified me in reading the story online, at the newspaper article of the time is still online, is that he ran the museum. The museum had an alarm system, and what he did tripped the alarm system. He didn't realize that this was going to trip the alarm. He didn't go through the front door because he was afraid of tripping the alarm system, but apparently smashing through the wall with a backhoe was enough to trigger the alarm system.
Who knew?
And he was,
What a surprise.
arrested. Yeah, he was arrested within an hour of that happening, and it all worked out. But yeah, kind of sad that's the way it went.
Like,
And
so
it
he
happened.
destroyed his own building.
So he didn't get in trouble then in the end.
I don't know.
I think he got in trouble.
I mean, he got in trouble, but I don't think he did any time. I think the family realized that let's just say he's a little eccentric. And I think they took that into consideration. I don't think they thought his motive was to take all the paintings, sell them, become a millionaire, and disappear from the face of the earth. I don't think they thought that was what he was up to. And I think this was right after Ellie died. This was Frank's wife. She was the business manager, and Frank did the creative, and Ellie took care of the business. And then once she died, there was really nobody in charge.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's all worked out now, and we can go and see it in the museum.
Yep, and the work was divided up, and I guess they went in order of birth. Frank Jr. got to pick a painting first, and then the second, and then the third and the fourth, and
It's
then
like
they
choosing sides in school at a softball league. Yeah.
And then they went back to Frank. Okay, now we've picked 4. You get to pick number 5, and they went through everything that Frank had ever done that he still owned, and went through it that way.
Wow, that must have been worth a few dollars.
Even at the time, it was a fortune, and now,
it's even higher.
if Catgirl went up for sale, I don't know, that it could be $8 to $10 million just for Catgirl.
Wow.
They just had a slabbed copy of I think it was Amazing Fantasy 15 go for 3.4.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So all of that collectible genre material is jumping.
Yeah. And what's so funny about that to me is, I know what condition it says it's in, but you're doing this sight unseen. Yeah, but you don't know what the interior pages look like.
Well, you'll never know unless you unslab it.
Yeah.
And that's a Herculean effort. In
a case like that, does the bidder say, I want to see this book? You got to break it out. I don't know.
How do they verify it anyway?
Well, you got a couple guys with white gloves sitting at CGC who go over it with a checklist, and then they assign it a numbering, and then they slab it.
Right. Now, if it's an 8.5 or above, I'm sure the pages are all fine inside. But if you're going to buy a slab book that's in whatever the grade point equivalent is of, let's say, a very good, well, there's a world of hurt that a very good book can have inside and still be very good. and you don't know what it is. You're buying it slabbed.
There's a little notation along the top of what it is, but you're not going to knock that book out of any type of condition once it's slabbed.
No.
So once it's there, it's there, but you'll never be able to look through it either.
Unless you break it out.
Because it's like a glorified trading card, really.
Yeah. But in a trading card, you can see both sides.
It's almost a stock certificate.
Be nice to own it now, wouldn't it?
We're going to be joined now by Mr. Russ Leach. Russ, how are you?
There he is. Hi, Russ.
Good day. Good day.
Hi, Russ,
How are you doing?
Hey.
Hey, all right.
Congratulations on your successful campaign, Charles.
Oh, thank you very much.
So it's good to see.
Russ, you'll need to introduce yourself for our radio audience.
Okay, my name's Russ Leach. I am a comic book artist from the UK, and I'm very tired. I've been working on stuff. I've been in publishing and design and productions since late 80s. Came back to comic book art 2010 and have been drawing in anger ever since. I got a couple of gigs, Marvel, Ben 10, Doctor Who, still do some Doctor Who stuff from time to time. And I decided I was going to go make my own comics, which is why I'm producing Only Death Can Save Us. Second campaign is now live on Indiegogo, and you can reread the first book either by getting, I do have a few books available on the campaign, or by going to Arrow Comics and getting the serialized version. Yep. There you go. That's me.
I'd like to thank Dan Plagle, who just backed Brammer. How about that?
Wow. That's cool.
And that's my first in-demand backer.
There you go.
So I guess it's worthwhile coming on this show, Randy.
Good. That's the idea. We have somebody named Short Round joining us. Looks like Varian.
Must be.
Why are you calling yourself Short Round, buddy?
Is he short and round?
Mm-hmm.
Did you want in, or do you want me to kick you back out? Are you there?
What are you talking about, Dr. Jones?
I really hated that movie. I still hate it.
Yeah.
I think it was just an awful piece of garbage.
It's not bad.
If anybody liked that movie, I'm sorry if I offended you, but I just thought it was a piece of trash.
I thought it was amazing the way that Spielberg and Harrison suddenly realized that it was 25 years since they'd done a Indiana Jones movie, so they decided to do the Crystal Skull or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
I'm easily
I know these people are busy, but you'd think they'd think about that one, wouldn't you?
Are you? Yeah, he's not there. He probably has a bad connection. Varian right now is over at SuperCon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I overprinted.
Good. You should always overprint a little bit just to anticipate damages.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew, having never done this before, I knew that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's it is risky. So you take calculated risks. I overprinted by a couple of about 100. About 150.
What percentage was that?
Oh, that was about a third of the print run.
Yeah. And how many were damaged?
Oh, very few.
Yeah,
I've got a few just on. Yeah, I know. I just got a few on the edge of the boxes, which I would not consider perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But that's me being quite OCD about it. I would imagine I could sell those further on down the line, maybe for used. Yeah, exactly. So that they'll be okay. So I had enough that I knew that I could give some. Well, I took the risk. I had to take an educated guess as to what I thought I might possibly get. And actually, I got more backers than I thought I'd get in the first one. So there aren't as many available for the second and the third campaign. Yeah. Second campaign, I have 75 available for people to buy book 1 and book 2 together as a package. So people can jump on. There will be a few left for campaign 3 for the third book. But you kind of have to sort of try and make these guesses. So, for instance, I put what I needed as a production, I put my full amount down as my target for book 1. I'm basically playing the algorithms with the second book, because I'm hoping I can get maybe 50, maybe a bit more percentage of return custom, and then get those, hopefully get a good portion of the 75 sold. So I put my target down to a fifth of what my first target was. And the idea of that is to get you up the pages on Indiegogo, so that you're further towards the top. And the reason for that is it's not just playing with the system, it's trying to get eyes on your product that aren't the same eyes that bought the first product. You want to widen your audience. So I had to take a risk there as well. And I'll be risking again by overprinting the second book. So it's always a worthwhile thing. But yeah, there's so many there's so many balancing acts that you have to involve yourself in the whole process. And then even more so when you go to in demand, you've got to see about, because you get charged obviously the fee to, I don't know what it may be less in America because it's all American, but I had to pay like £25 a month once they transferred the money. So I had to make sure that I made at least 4 sales in a month for it to be worthwhile in the in-demand phase. So it's just so much balancing that you have to do. But keeping people aware, you're absolutely right. After that initial phase, you need to rest. You need to like regroup, get your energy back. But then after that, just keep showing up places. Like like I'm very fortunate to be able to come in and speak to people over here on Indie Vault. I have my own channel that I do a drawing stream on a Monday night. I speak with Joe Fulton about comics. We spoke with Peter Sametti last week. So just sort of, being there and being part of the scene helps on YouTube specifically.
Yeah, Peter's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
His business model is so unique.
Yeah. I love the way that he's now sort of said, sod it, I'm just going straight to the public. And most of his businesses seems to be through the website now, and he's doing really well. I love Peter. I think he's fantastic.
I think he's quite the entrepreneur. Yeah. I'd like to have him on sometime and talk to him about his business. Really would.
Short round's back.
Yeah, I see that short round. You're kind of crackling there, but we can't hear you if you're talking.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, sort of.
There you are.
It's short round the Dalek.
Yeah, I was about to say that. You sound a bit Dalek-ish.
He's gone. He's
You're
falling
still
down.
crackling.
I was saying Master Puppet thing.
What?
Can you guys hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Okay. I am hanging and I'm coming to you live from my hotel room in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Because right now, your time, it's barely 8 o'clock.
It's 8:53, so I'll be 9.
It's what?
Show doesn't
8,
open till 11.
Almost.
So
9. Yeah. On a Sunday.
having a great time.
You're in the great Midwest. They have to give folks a chance to get out of church.
Yeah. They expect things like, I think it was Eric said, like basic human life. Like, hey, we're gonna run 9, but they're doing this thing after the show called SuperCon After Dark. I'm interested. But yesterday, they had after the show they had a burlesque show.
Oh,
But it was burlesque / drag.
Okay.
And on my part, mistakes were made. And I'll talk about those things Tuesday.
we'll expect a full report on the Live Wire program.
Yeah. I just want to tell you guys.
Were made.
I want to tell you guys
that's
keep
quite
drawing.
the teaser.
Yeah, oh yeah. I want to tell you guys to keep drawing so that your art can appreciate so rapidly and so quickly that even you can't afford it. That's all.
I saw that.
That was pretty good.
Well, there's some people that are just so full of themselves, aren't they? Good Lord.
Yeah, what can you say?
I'm going to start name dropping everybody that comes on this program. Like, do you know?
Aside from it being egotistical, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah. I'm gonna start making wild accusations like, what are you talking about? Glenn Fleming. I brought Glenn in. He used to sharpen my pencils.
He used to do all my lettering for me.
Charles Santino used to get my pencils. I used to go get my sandwiches for me.
And that was a full-time job.
Yeah.
Charles, make me a sandwich.
I just want to pop in and say good morning to you guys, and I'm gonna take a shower. So yeah, I'll see you guys Tuesday.
All right, buddy.
You guys taking a shower for your drag date?
Yeah, I have to wash that off of me.
Wash that off, yeah.
Mistakes were made. I mean, listen, he didn't have to be built that way. Okay,
you don't have to go into detail on that on this program, buddy. You can save it for Livewire. It's all good.
You just thought she was Brazilian.
And that's what she had.
I'm just saying.
All right, Varian, you have a great day at the show. Try to keep your cool. All right, you're breaking up. All right, and he's gone, ladies and gentlemen. That was Varian Grant, owner of the Indie Volt Radio Network and Liberty.
Yeah, and that puts some of the fun back in comics.
Yeah, is it live from Mars?
Yeah, pretty much live from the middle of the country, ladies and gentlemen, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
That was great. That was like Walt Disney popping in. Do you know what I mean? That was.
You ever saw Dances with Wolves? He drove right through it, pretty much. So,
right.
Yeah. All right. Sin Killer up the line here has a question. What's new at Arrow Comics 4.0? Nothing new. Nothing much new at Arrow Comics 4.0. We're still prepping products for the direct market and having to deal with a small paper shortage at the moment, as our numbers have increased and our printer is caught with his pants down, and we're just dancing the happy dance and waiting for stuff to fall into place. So
I'll be dancing a happier dance when the bloody paper turns up.
Yeah,
I think many of us are old enough to remember a paper shortage from early 70s.
That was from a strike, wasn't it? Unionization of the paper plants, something like that.
I don't remember the cause. I do remember there was a paper shortage.
Well, it's not just the supply problems; it's the supply demand that's caught everybody unaware because of the bug. Apparently, people have decided to grab more books and read more things physically than
hoorah
they were ever anticipating. So now everything's short. And then, of course, we have that paranoia of the Chicken Littles running out there going, there's a paper or a toilet paper shortage. There's a toilet paper shortage. So everybody has to buy up.
Yeah, we had one of those this week with the petrol.
With the fuel.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Bloody fools.
Yeah. Now, something that happened at the beginning of the pandemic that caught everybody off balance was there was a big shortage of comic book supplies, bags and boards, because everybody was sitting home and decided, I think I'll spend some time with my comic book collection. I need some bags and boards.
I got nothing else to do. What can I? Oh, let's go look through my long boxes I haven't looked through in decades. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. And the prices of back issue comics went just skyrocketed because people were sitting around with nothing to do and said, I'll go on eBay, I'll buy some comics.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
I know the wife got to the point where she was reading an entire paperback a day. So it's just assuming.
Speed reading.
Yeah.
That was a good book. What was it about?
It was about 300 pages.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's about more like 500, 600 pages. Every time I'd walk upstairs from working down here, she was farther, much farther into the book. I'm like, holy crap. She looks at me and goes, yeah, well, what else do I got to do? So she almost watched the entire run of Dark Shadows. She's only got maybe 50 or 60 more episodes left to go.
About to say, with that whole 18 months of COVID, you could have watched the extended version of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh,
might have had just enough time.
Almost just enough time, yeah.
I never got that. Never got that at all.
Never got what?
Lord of the Rings. I watched it. I watched it. I've never read the books. I've tried to read them. I've said this before. I started. Somebody told me I had to read The Hobbit first, and then I would understand the characters. So I actually bought The Hobbit, and I got to about page 15, and this guy's ordering all this. People are coming to this door, and they're wanting more tea and more tea and more tea and cakes. The 15 pages, and I thought, I don't need any more tea and cakes.
Glenn, it's interesting you should say that, because I tried reading The Hobbit in high school.
Yeah.
I could not get through it.
Yeah.
And then after I graduated from college and had all kinds of time on my hands, because I had very little social life, and I would come home from work, I had nothing to do, I read Lord of the Rings, and I read it all the way through, and I loved it. And then I went back to The Hobbit. But I would say give yourself a chance to read through the Lord of the Rings, because I had the same experience you had with The Hobbit.
Lord of the Rings, the first book, okay, because it is actually 6 books. The first book is incredibly slow. There's a lot of description, but it's a setup, okay, and it's worth getting through it so that you can get to the other books. Well, the Hobbit was written after the Lord of the Rings and was written as a way of getting kids into the whole book. So if you're reading it as an adult, you might feel that it isn't quite speaking to you in the same way, whereas the Lord of the Rings is definitely speaking as a mythology. He wrote it as a British / European mythology up against things like the ancient Greeks and what have you. That was the point of its.
See, I'm always a bit wary of books that say, Lord of the Rings, right? That's the first one, and then the second one is, it might be the third, I don't know, but one of the books says, The Return of the King.
That's the third one.
Third one. Okay. So we know he's going to come back.
Yeah, but you don't know. But you don't know if he's going to survive, do you? It doesn't say Return of the King, and by the way, he wins.
No, but they're all in the film. They're lamenting the fact that he's not around. Well, we know he's going to come back next week. They've told us. And I said to you, a friend of mine was going on about these Lord of the Rings films as they were coming out every couple of years or whatever it was, every year. And they were all 9 days long and all this kind of thing. He said it's absolutely brilliant. And then one day he came into work and he had the complete box set of the 3 films. And he said it was Friday, and he said to me, he slammed it down on my desk. He said, right, there it is. I want a full report on Monday morning. So I took it home and I sat down at midday on Saturday and I watched 3 back to back.
Good Lord.
And at the end of it, 10 o'clock at night or whatever it was, I thought, that's 9 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Well, that was the theatrical versions. You needed to get the extendeds to really understand what everything.
I couldn't. One thing that really did me head in about it was when I don't know who the characters are, but you'll recognise them. There's these big trees that you can't.
The ants.
You can't even understand what they're saying because they're talking in strange language, right?
Yeah.
These trees. And they're walking to this volcano or something, and they decide to sit on the tree branches, and that's slower than them walking. And it's really important they get there. So why are they talking to these guys? Who are these guys? And then at the end of it, they've got that ring thing, and they throw it in the lava.
Yeah.
They could have done that at the end of book 1.
Actually, what they could have done is they could have just gone in with the Eagles right at the start of book 1 and dropped the ring into the fire, and they wouldn't have needed 3 books.
And then what they could have done as well is then they could have thrown that. They could have gone over that volcano thing and thrown that ring in, and then they could have jumped in as well, and that would have been really great. That would have been really exciting.
Isn't it the journey though? Isn't it?
That was the whole point.
I think the lesson here, Glenn, is that this trilogy is not for you.
Yeah.
Well, I know that. I like science fiction, not science fantasy. There's a difference.
I don't even know if that was science fantasy, to tell you the truth.
That was just fantasy, wasn't it?
Solid fantasy.
You like Larry Niven?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he the best?
No.
Is he close to the best?
Oh yeah, he's in top 10.
Yeah.
Philip Dick, Arthur Clarke.
Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Arthur Clarke.
Philip Kindred Dick. Arthur Clarke and what's he called? Martian Chronicles. All those. Ray
Bradbury.
Yeah, Bradbury. Just amazing short story.
Harlan Ellison.
Yeah.
Are you a Trekkie?
More than I am a Star Wars.
I always used to be that way. Yeah.
You know, I have a comment about Star Trek, especially the original version. It's just okay. So they're on this mission and they're out in space, and how many people were supposedly on the Enterprise?
400 and some, I thought.
Yeah.
I
Was it 200? 200 and some on the original Enterprise,
yeah.
400 and something on the Next Generation
I
Enterprise.
kept thinking, at some point there was going to be a meeting where everybody on that ship was going to demand audience with Captain Kirk, and they were going to say, look, every week, our lives are in danger. What this was supposed to be a peaceful mission to explore the universe, and you get us almost killed every single week. What is the problem here? We want to go back. We want a new captain, or we want to go back.
Yeah, well, I'm not a military person, but even when I was 14 or 15 when I first watched Star Trek, I couldn't work out why the commander and the other under commanders, whatever they're called, the lieutenants and all this stuff, they all did the mission. That would be like Eisenhower first off that ramp on D-Day.
Yeah.
And he's going to think, not a chance. I'm not going on any landing craft.
Yeah, they didn't address that until Next Generation when number one spoke up and said, "Hey, you're the captain. What the hell? You know?
You guys, where's the magic? Where's the magic? Stop it!"
You had to have Kirk out there in order, to beat the bad guys and meet all the hot women. But just remember there were only 22 episodes a year. So the other 30 weeks, they weren't doing nothing.
Right.
They were just floating out there in space or traveling.
Yeah.
So you didn't get to see those parts. Those were too boring.
Space is a big place. So
space is a huge place. Yeah. That's why they have warp drive.
How did they get to beam down? Don't they need a receiver? Because they used to go places where nobody had been before, so there wouldn't be a receiver to receive them being beamed down.
They didn't need a receiver. They had Scotty,
too much.
and Scotty was amazing at guessing exactly what point they needed to come down on in order to stand on the land.
Right, and not put them in a volcano.
Just amazing. Yeah,
not
put them in a volcano or to materialize them a foot above.
He didn't guess. Right. That was skill.
Oh, sorry, missed it.
That was the Heisenberg compensation unit.
Yes.
Good Lord, man.
Right. As Get Smart used to say, missed it by that much.
Oh, you're a red shirt? Well, we might teleport you into a rock. Here we go.
Don't let a fly get in that transporter.
And the guy with the red shirt was always going to get it, wasn't he?
Usually,
Lieutenant Green.
Scotty always ran around with a red shirt too, though.
But he never got it.
But he didn't go down. He didn't go down so much, did he?
No, he didn't. He was too busy up top.
That's what I'm saying. But Buddy in the red shirt who went down
fixing the machinery and running the slide rule.
I
didn't understand. The only thing I couldn't understand is why the engineering people had the same color shirts as the security people.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
They should have made the ductwork a lot bigger because they were constantly having to crawl through the.
It was a small ship.
Why not make it so that you could do that easily? There's a bit of a design flaw there.
And it's very clean, wasn't it? When you look at Alien, it looks like that spacecraft is brilliant because it looks like people live there with coffee cups.
Well, that was a corporate ship too.
Yeah. And then on that Star Trek thing, it's very, very clean. Even with the engineer doesn't have grease on his arms or anything.
Yeah. There's no grease in spaceships. What's wrong with you?
The air was recycled. Everything was good.
There's silicone.
Good Lord.
See, Michael Lanning says Scotty knew better than to go down.
I've got he did. I got antimatter on my arms. Hold on a minute. I'll just get myself a wet wipe.
Yeah, exactly. Give me one of them baby wipes. Yeah. Bristolian Dave in the house. All right, me babbers.
All right, me babbers.
Doing well. Bristolian, hope you're doing well. I like the different color shirts on the OG Star Trek. Yeah. A lot to be said for that old, the OG series. Yeah. The original series.
Didn't Shatner just turn 90?
Yeah.
And
they're shipping him out into space.
Oh, so they should.
So he's taking a space flight here real soon.
Is he? Good.
Yeah.
I want to go on one of those.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I want to go on
you'd be terrible in space, mate. You'd be up there and you'd be asking all those bloody awkward questions.
Me up there. Hey, everybody, have you ever read Lord of the Rings? I hate that book.
I'd be saying, who did these hand lettering on these exit signs?
Exactly. That's funny. There's no lettering on these countries at all. What's going on? That doesn't look right.
What does this button do?
Scotty and Uhura never got it. They were both red shirts. However, if you were a red shirt and security, you were pretty much dead in the original series. Yeah. Yep. Always the ones to go.
Yeah, and I don't remember ever. I mean, I assume some of these people that died had family on the ship. You know, I don't remember seeing Kirk ever.
Oh no, not on the original series.
No.
It was all enlisted on the original series. Okay. The Next Generation carried families.
Yeah. That's what I liked about.
It was a much bigger ship. Excuse me. Sure.
That's what I liked about the spy films from the 90s. What's his name? The British.
James Bond?
No. The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Oh, Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. When they had that bit in there, with like they had to go and tell the henchman's wife and family that he was dead, and nobody thinks about the henchman. Nobody cares that they all die.
Right, they have families too.
They have families too. They're people just because they're henchmen and they work for the evil villain. Brilliant stuff.
Apex says it's easy to create a Star Trek comedy. Yep, that's why Paramount has
it writes itself. Yeah, Mad Magazine used to be pretty good at that.
Yeah,
if only Lower Decks was a comedy.
There you go.
You know what? You know what is a classic Mad Magazine parody is their parody of 2001.
Yeah,
is absolutely hysterical because I love the movie, but you read the parody and you're like, yeah. Mad
was just
best of the best. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. You know, Mort Drucker must be one of the second best cartoonists of all time.
Yeah,
and there's a great shot of I think it's Saturday Night Fever. You know the beginning when John Travolta's walking along doing his little walk to the music, and he's carrying that pot of paint. Mm-hmm. Well, in the Mad thing, he's dripped it all, and it's all down the street. Yes. People are getting it on their shoes and everything. It's just little things like that. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant.
Those are the funnies. The little touches are always the funniest. They figured that out when they were doing the comic. Everybody got the Bill Elder and Wally Wood kept throwing stuff in the background that was funnier than the main joke.
In the Mad, I think it's in the Star Wars one. It will be. It's the Star Wars one. Spock and Kirk are in the background at one of the consoles. You know, all these put these people in. It's just brilliant.
at the end of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. parody they did the original TV series. What's his name? Solo is killed by James Bond. James Bond comes in and says, "Look, you guys are Bush League. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Now they Mad got sued by the production company that released Empire Strikes Back because they were so upset with the parody. And then George Lucas stepped in and said, "No, I loved it," and so they backed off.
Good stuff.
It's like, get a sense of humor, guys. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Being parodied like that just adds to your sales.
Yeah. How does this hurt you?
Yeah. Worse than Lord of the Rings is the X-Men franchise. I almost had a lobotomy just by listing the nonsense of it. Don't try. Don't attempt.
Oh, you mean the movies? The movies?
You guys,
any of it. Except the cartoon. The original cartoon was kind of fun, but that kept to a linear storyline. But everything else,
just relax. Just relax, Marv. Just relax.
He's trying to relax.
Be like me. Be like me. Be shallow.
Yeah,
be shallow. Be shallow. I love all kinds of films. They're all really bad. I just love them. They're just films. They're great.
I always love to quote.
I've tried to explain my love of Godzilla films to many people, including my wife, and it's like because I'm getting on her case. She's watching these Lifetime.
That's a Godzilla movie in itself.
Movies, and I keep telling her they're all the same. They're all the same. It's like, wait a minute, but I watch Godzilla movies. They're all the same. And I keep trying to explain too, the CGI Godzilla. I'm sorry, no, Godzilla is a man in a rubber suit.
Yes. Yep.
Like that guy in Star Trek. Go on, sorry, go ahead.
On stuff like that, I always love to quote my favorite line from The Big Chill. Sometimes you just have to let art flow over you.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. As you try to pick it apart, it all falls apart.
And that literally in Varian's case.
And that was said in the middle of the night while somebody was watching a Godzilla movie, and they come in and they say, "Why are you watching that?" He goes, "Sometimes you just have to let art flow over you."
Now I don't remember that. Is that true?
Is what?
Is that true? No, I don't. There was no Godzilla movie in The Big Show.
Yeah, it was on the TV when they
You're
were
kidding. I need to go watch that movie.
You know the base. I'm pretty sure it was a Godzilla movie.
Oh, that's hysterical.
You're familiar with the film?
Yeah, was it Jeff Goldblum who was saying that?
No, it was William Hurt, I believe. The drugged out.
Even better.
He was there watching TV because he couldn't sleep. He was all drugged up, and they says, "What the hell are you watching?" And he goes, "Sometimes you just have to let art flow."
Do you know? Yeah. Is it Peter Jackson who does Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Yes.
He's the. I mean, they're great. They're well shot and all that stuff. And then you get to King Kong, and they're running through that canyon for 15 days. With those little raptor guys.
Not good.
But ironically, he's recently been given access to 24 hours of Beatles film from Let It Be.
Oh, that's coming out soon.
And he's only releasing 3 hours of it. Why not put 24? I'd watch that for 24 hours. Put all that out.
Absolutely.
They could put that on a streaming service, and they'd have a lot of people just sit and watch it from start to finish.
Every minute of it.
I'd watch that.
Heck
every minute.
Yep.
Every minute, yeah. Instead, I get 9 hours of somebody going, ooh, ooh.
There's that Let It Be's 5 CD box set is coming out soon. Great. If it hasn't already come out.
I'll buy 2 copies of that.
It's only $130.
Got all the outtakes on it from all the.
I'll tell you what I'll do when I can travel again. I'll buy a box set and I'll find a volcano and I'll throw that in.
There's one just off of Spain right now that would probably be happy to take.
It's so harsh.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, it's true.
We're taking all the fun out of Funnies here, I think.
Yeah.
She can't take much more of this. It's going to blow. Exactly.
And where can I get some of those dilithium crystals?
I just watched the strangest quirks. There's a video on YouTube about the strangest quirks in all the Star Trek movies, and they talk about Scotty's middle finger on his right hand. It's not there.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one. He lost it during D-Day.
Yeah.
Also,
he was in the middle. He was like Kirby. Well, probably worse than Kirby. He was right in the middle of the ship.
He was shot by his own troops. 5 bullets in the chest. Scotty.
Obviously didn't have a red shirt on that time.
Well,
no, thank goodness.
He had a bulletproof one at best, didn't he? I mean, 5 times in the chest by your own guy, Jeez.
I don't remember if it's the first Star Trek movie or the second one, but Kirk is wearing this outfit that's got those white flaps on it.
Yeah.
And at one point, some blood gets on it from one of the action scenes.
Yeah.
And they must have shot a bunch of it twice, and the blood in one set of takes is on one part, and then it's on another, and they intercut the 2 takes. So from cut to cut to cut, the blood goes bloop 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 bloop. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like, wait a minute, what did you spend on this movie? You had a continuity person, didn't you? What happened here?
So you fire them.
I drive the wife crazy when I catch stuff like that on shows. I have to rewind and say, see that hair? Gone.
Yeah. See that mic? You see that mic coming down from the top?
They did that.
Yeah.
And yet she's only about 40 episodes away from finishing off Dark Shadows. If you've never seen that, it was a mostly live soap opera with horrific themes to it.
I have
That's
seen
just
it.
Amazing to watch on all sorts of different levels.
It just goes to show how that even the best can get it wrong, because there's I think it's in Casino when Pesci gets shot, thrown in the shot and put in the hole, where they're burying him. They beat him up and then they throw him in the hole, and then he's lying like this, and then it cuts to the guy and he spits on him and does all this, and then when it cuts back, he's lying the other way. So, but in the DVD, it's been
corrected.
Yeah,
they fixed it in post.
Yeah, and also, Charles, you mentioned about seeing that microphone. Well, if you watch, I think it's Wall Street. There's a scene where I was going to say Michael Douglas walks into his office in New York or wherever he is, and the windows are floor to ceiling, and it's nighttime. And as he walks across, you can see the entire production crew in the shadow. You can see the camera. You can see what's he called, the director? He's Stone's like this with his script.
Wow!
And you can, as it goes like that, you can see, and they're all the guy with the boom, with the thing.
Wow!
And you can see, and
another multi-million-dollar production. Now is that the one? Is that the
just
one
great practical effects? That's all. This is before digital magic. That's all.
Is that the movie where he's on the beach with the giant cell phone that looks like a walkie-talkie?
That's about the right time period.
Yeah, he's on the beach with it. So we're supposed to be so impressed with this high-tech mobile phone that he has. It's literally the size of the biggest walkie-talkie you've ever seen.
It's funny when people used to walk around with those bricks.
With a giant antenna on it. Yeah.
Yet he's got a completely different explanation why he got mouth cancer.
Yeah. Have you heard Gilbert Gottfried's routine about that?
No, but I'm sure that it's hilarious.
He goes through a long litany of diseases that he would be willing to get to do various things to Catherine Zeta-Jones. What's this show rated?
We are TVMA DLSV, but we are supposed to be talking about the more fun and lighthearted.
Well, that's fun.
Well, that's true.
Catherine Zeta-Jones looks like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. All we can say, just to shake our heads and agree. Yep. Scotty was the most entertaining in the Star Trek franchise. Admiral Kirk, Barnaby. Barnabas. Barnabas. Yes. Such horrible classic stuff. Just amazing. Dark Shadows was the best soap opera. Actually, for the type of soap opera it was, that it was shown daily, but nothing beats soap as far as being able to pick on soap operas.
Now, didn't Dark Shadows change eras that it took place?
Oh, yeah, they jumped time like we changed pants.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There was one time they were even in the future for a few weeks, and then they quickly jumped out when they realized it was going to be too expensive. They couldn't guess that far in advance. Oh, yeah, you're back 70s. There you go. But yeah, there was a whole, they jumped back and forth quite a lot because every time they did, they got a little bump in the ratings. So.
Now, some was black and white, right? The original was black
and white.
And then it was in color.
Yeah. Well, if you watch the set that they have, I think IMBD.com has it. They stream it. She's been streaming it. There's a whole couple of years there where they, depending upon the copy that they got from wherever, it was either in color or in black and white.
Yeah.
So you never knew. And the quality always jumped around. But somebody out there went out and actually found all like 1,100 some episodes.
Yeah, there's a cable
and
channel
put it up for streaming.
A cable channel's been. I don't know if they're still showing it, but they had been, and I caught some of it, and the prints are not good at all.
Yeah, well, it's whatever they could find at the time from the other networks that decide. Who knew anybody would want to keep watching this?
No. I've never heard of it.
That's why you've never heard of it.
No, never heard of it.
Never heard of it. I don't know. No, not a clue.
Back in the late 60s. All soap operas were running the Rage in the Afternoon. Well, they tried a gothic soap opera, and then as soon as they brought a vampire in, their ratings went through the roof.
Wow!
Even though the guy looked like he was 50, and I don't think he was very attractive at all. No. None of these people could act.
Blah blah. I want to suck your blood.
The main star was an old-time actress that they brought in, and I can't recall her name right off the bat, but she was almost the staple of the entire run. And then other people they brought in from varying stage experience, and they brought in a bunch of kids who could or could not act. And it just became such a cult classic because as kids, you would come home and see all of these great storylines. You guys had Hammer Films over there. They were trying to copy and come up with any type of horror trope in order to turn it into that soap opera continuity.
That's superb. It sounds great.
So
Sounds
you had a vampire running through it for a long time. They jumped back and forth in time. They had witches casting spells, anything that they could do on the cheap. They brought in a werewolf. They brought in a guy that they manufactured, stuck together, that they called Adam. And of course, Adam wanted to have a companion, so they stuck another girl together from dead parts named Eve. They buried people alive. They were out there reading the thing that really killed them is that they tried to do a Damien, son of Satan kind of storyline, and they did Omen, type thing. Well, not really Antichrist type thing, but evil demon child type of thing, and they just stretched it on for too long, and the ratings just kept dropping, and then they had to stop it. But in the meantime, you got some really insane live action television. You had sets where people were leaning up against stone walls, and you could see the walls move back and forth. You had boom mics moving all the way through, camera people ducking and trying to get out of the way.
This sounds great.
Of the shot. It's amazing, just phenomenal. While all of these actors were trying to keep to themselves and hold their parts down.
It was very popular, and it was
very popular.
It was so popular that it was even on the cover of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine.
There you go.
Which was they didn't really put anything on the cover that wasn't that people weren't interested in.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised to see it on there. That's what made me realize how popular it was.
Well, they had that classic portrait of Barnabas holding the silver cane with his ring.
Barnabas
up there,
Collins.
just classic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Twin Peaks, the first series?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know Bob, the madman that appears. Well, that was an accident, because he was a sound guy, and they saw him on the rushes hiding behind the dressing table holding a microphone or something, and Lynch thought, that's got to be Bob. We've got to get in it.
Have you ever seen the European release of the Twin Peaks as a single movie? Where so it's
Fire Walk with Me, that one.
No, the first episode of Twin Peaks was released in Europe as a movie.
Yeah.
And it's wrapped up at the end of the first episode.
Oh, is it really? No, I've never seen that.
And Bob is revealed as the killer at the end. And it's like, wow, the whole thing is done in one episode.
I'll have to buy that. I'll have to go get that.
And it's actually pretty well done. And it makes you realize you don't really feel like you missed anything. You don't really feel like, wait a minute, where's all the rest of it? No, they wrapped it up in one episode.
I watched something from the BBC with my wife over the last few weeks. It was Vigil. And
the Submarine
7. And it was it had really great reviews, and I'd probably give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It was like it went to some places that you just didn't need to, and it was so overdone. It's like it could have been done in 4 episodes instead of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been the submarine one, and it would have been far better if they'd done it in 4 episodes rather than 6.
just like modern comics.
Russ, was that your sandwich maker?
That was my son coming in to ask what time I was going. I was going on later.
What time are you getting off camera, Dad? Yeah,
we watched Vigil, the first episode, and we watched half of the second one last night, and just thought, no, this isn't really going anywhere. So.
Well, they had a big deal. They made a big deal out of the fact that it was done by the Bodyguard people, which was a fairly good thing, and the Line of Duty, which again has got
excellent. Yeah,
it has, but it's got weaker. There's no doubt about it. And Vigil was just
over here when you mentioned the Bodyguard people. We think Whitney Houston.
Yeah, no, it's not that. No. So it was okay, but it was just I'm not going to get into the weeds.
I just see the
comics anyway.
Yeah, I just see the girl in Coronation Street when I see that.
I just thought it was just it just so expanded and it didn't need to. The core story was good, but the rest of it was just a bit bare. And I'm with you. I'd prefer to just read comics, but my wife doesn't sit there and read comics with me, so I have to spend some time on the sofa watching the TV, and we have to find things that we'll both watch.
There's the portrait of Barnabas Collins right there.
Oh, damn it, he's gorgeous.
It's after the actor Jonathan Frid played that role.
Speaking of submarine movies, did anybody see Black Sea with Jude Law?
No.
It came and went in the theaters. This would have been let's see, what year was this? 2014. It's a great movie. It's about supposedly, I guess some gold was going back and forth between Russia and Nazi Germany during World War II, and a submarine full of gold sinks, and it's in the Black Sea, and somebody finds out that it's there, and they're going to go get it. Right. And things don't go well. But it was a great little movie, and it just came and went, and nobody saw it, but definitely very much worth seeking out. When I first saw Jude Law, I kind of thought originally when he came out, I thought he's kind of a pretty boy, and I thought this guy's going to be much better as he gets older. He's going to be much more interesting as he gets older, and I feel that's definitely the case.
Once he stopped relying on his looks, damn it,
and his hair.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, we all know how that feels.
Can't rely on your hair forever.
No.
Anyway, Dark Shadows ran from June 27th, 1966 to April 2nd, 1971. It was a Monday through Friday half-hour soap opera that was, like I said, was meant to be like a gothic romance and turned into a horror show. So
was it fighting Peyton Place then?
No, Peyton Place was like a primetime soap opera. It was fighting General Hospital and As the World Turns.
And part of the reason Dark Shadows was so popular is that teenage girls were home from school.
It wasn't just girls. I used to run home and watch that thing too.
When it was on, as kids were home, and a lot of the soap operas were on, 12 noon, 1 o'clock when the kids were not home from school. But this one had a big following with kids because they were home; they could watch it.
I believe it was the last soap opera of the day. Yeah. And the thing that I'll never forget about that show is that one of the characters ends up being buried alive. And I had to run home and watch it. And my mom would sit there and half watch it, pretend she's not watching. And as soon as that woman got buried alive, she jumped away from the ironing board, ran up and shut that TV off so fast as you're never watching another one of those again. That is too scary for you.
And how old were you at the time?
Oh, man. Let me think. Probably 10, maybe 10, 12, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Well, you remember when
old enough to really be impressionable to make me love those Hammer films that would come out on Saturday afternoon, right after that. Yeah.
You know the original Batman, the Adam West thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I presume it's the same over in America. They were on in Saturday and Sunday evening, weren't they? There were two parts to one story.
I believe they were Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah,
here.
It was it was a weeknight, but it was two parts. Yeah,
right.
But everybody stayed up. Everybody begged not to go to bed until they saw that Batman episode.
But it was weekend when they were shown here.
Okay.
And anyway, we used to go and see my family from Sheffield, which is about 50 miles away, every Sunday. And I didn't see though. My auntie Connie, she wouldn't allow. She thought it was rubbish, and she wouldn't allow me to watch it. Mm-hmm. So I never saw the second part until they showed them again about 20 years later.
Oh no!
And I didn't really want to watch it, but the one on Saturday mornings, I got up and watched it because I had to see what happened.
Yeah,
you never knew how they got out. Yeah. You never knew how they escaped that death trap.
Spoiler alert! He got out.
Yeah. They always get by somehow.
Yeah, have you ever seen the Batman serials from the 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw one for the first time. Well, I'd seen bits and pieces, but they were showing them on TV, and I actually finally got to see them for real. The whole thing all the way through. And other than the unbelievably atrocious costumes, they're not bad. The action is actually pretty good. They're pretty well shot. They move right along. The acting is not that bad for a serial, but those costumes, holy cow! Those are the worst looking costumes.
Yeah, but the budgets for those serials especially was like next to nothing. And it was all backlot type stuff. You really want to watch an awesome production serial. Dig up the Captain Marvel serial And even the Spy Smasher serial is really classic serial writing, right from Death Trap to a little bit of story to Death Trap type of a setup.
And
it's just amazing.
Of course, the inspiration
Two of my favorites.
the inspiration for Raiders of the Lost Ark was
Yes.
those serials.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, this is unbelievable at the time. Okay, so George Lucas is coming off of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Okay. Spielberg's coming off of Jaws and Close Encounters.
Yep.
Okay. They had trouble convincing the studio that Raiders of the Lost Ark was a movie they should make.
Yeah.
They had trouble getting that movie made.
Yep.
That is unbelievable to me.
Well, they just couldn't wrap their head around it.
Considering that they made a $10 million Carrot Top movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apex Comics says Dan Curtis produced Dark Shadows and Movie of the Week Trilogy of Terror in the early 1970s. If you never saw Trilogy of Terror, that also scared the youth of the nation by a little tiny voodoo doll with a razor spear that came to life and terrorized Karen Black.
Yes.
Good Lord, that sounds problematic.
That stuck it, and it still holds up. It was all stop motion practical effects on the doll.
It's
and
very
it
creepy.
scared the crap out of everybody at my school age. Yeah.
And that was around the time that they first started making TV movies.
Yeah.
The first one I remember was, I think it was with Ray Milland, and it was called Daughter of the Mind.
The one I remember was Spielberg's first film, Duel.
Oh yeah, with
Dennis Weaver.
Truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember in the early mid '60s when I was about 8, I could hear the music for The Outer Limits when I was in bed.
Oh yeah,
I always wanted to watch this program, and my mum and dad wouldn't let me watch it, and I minded them for months and months to watch this program, and then so my mum said, "Okay, you can stay up and watch it," and it was the Zanti Misfits.
Oh, there you go.
And
you're gonna start with one. Start with a good one.
It scared the crap out of me, but she made me watch it. She said, "You complained. I didn't want to watch it." And she said, "You complained. You're going to watch it." So there's
some tough love for you.
Yeah. You got a full dose.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's fantastic. Bruce Dern's in it, isn't he? Because all those guys that we kept, Shatner and Nimoy, they're all in those early episodes, aren't they? That and the Twilight.
That was a great show. I never missed it, and it gave me nightmares.
Here's the doll from Trilogy of Terror. Right there. They animated that little guy going around terrorizing Karen Black.
There's no wonder he's angry with those teeth.
Yeah. Sharp teeth, and he had a sharp stick too. Had a like a razor blade sharp spear end to it.
And I got to give Karen Black credit for being able to act opposite that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it like I said, it just scared the crap out of anybody that was. Do
you remember in the 90s when was it the Twilight Zone they remade?
Yes.
Yeah.
I only watched a couple of those because they're just reshooting the old scripts.
No, not really. Some of them were fresh stories. There were a lot of modern TV writers that cut their teeth on Twilight Zone episodes. Twilight Zone and Outer Limits also had a much longer modern run in the 80s and 90s, I believe.
Yes.
And they're all watchable. They're not all of them are as classic or as well done as you can't match Rod Serling as far as writing
and
goes.
The original series of both Outer Limits and Dark Shadow, Twilight Zone really benefited from black and white.
Yeah. I think you're right.
But it's what you were saying before, especially on the Outer Limits, about the monsters that they have. They're so ridiculous that they're brilliant, aren't they? That guy with the big eyes. Remember that guy with the big eyes? Big eyes like that.
And when you're a little kid, that can scare you.
But
and it's easier to hide your makeup in black and white as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And that thing they did with the galaxy being, didn't they? The guy, he had the guy, the galaxy being actor had a deep sea diver's costume on or a rubber, and they just turned it negative and turned it around. And those blotches were water. They sprayed him with water, and those blotches were the water running on it. What a fantastic effect!
I think that was the first episode.
The ingenuity of a low budget.
Yeah.
And fantastic music.
You get a lot of these guys coming right off of radio. You know, a lot of the writers and a lot of the actors, and you can't match the quality on that kind of stuff. That's why I tell everybody if you haven't listened to a lot of the old radio programs, you're really missing out. There's a lot of great stuff out there. There's a noob question from Sarah. Sarah, am I understanding that a serial is a short, full story arc and a series ongoing, or am I wrong? Well, the old serials, they used to run in the theaters. This was before television. And the parents would drop the kids off early in the afternoon. Kids would go in and watch an entire afternoon's worth of stuff. And the parents didn't have to worry about them. They'd go out shopping or whatever. And then the kids would walk home or who knows what. But usually at the theater, you would get a couple cartoons, a newsreel to catch you up on the stuff of the day. Because all you had back then was radio. And most of that time, the radio wasn't good until after the sun went down. So the signal was strong enough. Then you had what they called a serial, which was a 20-minute action adventure play or story, kind of like what you would see as a cheap television, low-budget episode. And the serials always kept the kids coming back to the theater to see the next episode because they always started with the character getting out of a death trap and then having a little bit of story and then ending with a death trap. Very similar to Perils of Pauline. It's a real classic one back from that period that involved a girl that kept getting into trouble over and over and over again. And you would go back the next day and be happy to pay your dime to get in just to see that serial. And a lot of the serials started using IPs from the comics and the radio plays as their characters. There was a Captain Marvel serial that was really the big one back then. It really ticked off national periodicals because at the time all they had Superman in was the Fleischer cartoons. So they kicked their lawsuit up against Captain Marvel over that serial actually hitting the theaters and them not being able to do a Superman serial. They ended up doing it a year or so later once they chased off the contract they had with Fleischer. But all of the big IPs of the day ended up having a theater serial. And then you would see one or two, usually two movies that the studios would ship around. One of them was incredibly good, and the other one was pretty close to what we would consider to be Grindhouse, and not quite as bad as what turned into the Grindhouse drive-in theater type double feature films, but it was of a lower quality, and they knew it. Plus, you'd have one or two little comedy shorts in there, and they would always the Three Stooges all came out of that. That's why you see the Three Stooges shorts being like 20 minutes long, because they would have the Three Stooges go out there and film them shorts and tell them that they weren't that good, but they would put them in the run anyway. And having a Three Stooges short in your theater that week meant you made extra money because people would go in and see the entire afternoon's worth of programming just to see that Three Stooges short.
You're absolutely
because they were
right.
They were that popular.
My father and my uncles lived in New York City in the 30s. And they would run around Manhattan from theater to theater, and they would look at which Three Stooges short was playing on that bill. Mm-hmm. And if it was one they saw, they would run to the next theater. And they would run from theater to theater until they saw that theater was showing a Three Stooges short they hadn't seen yet, and that was the theater they'd go into.
Little Rascals, Laurel and Hardy both came out of that same period.
Yep.
I just said before that I'd not seen the Batman from the 40s, but I remember now I have, because I remember one episode where, and it was at the cinema, like you say, the all day thing, and where he was fighting. I think it was Batman. He was fighting somebody in this truck, and they were heading for this cliff, and they clearly in the cabin of the truck, and they go over the cliff, and then we went back next week. And it's going towards the edge of the cliff, and then we see them both jump out, and then the truck goes over.
Yeah.
So they always used to cut like that. But you might be able to help me on this with your immense knowledge, Randy. I used to go and see Tarzan.
Uh-huh.
And there was one where there were these guys, and I think they were probably gun running or something down in Africa, and they got these local guys, to.
Sorry, was this the Johnny Weissmuller?
I don't know. Oh. Could be. But they got these guys and took them as slaves, and they were carrying these boxes of bullets, big crates of bullets. And one of these guys knew that Tarzan was around. So what he did was he poked a hole in the carton, and the bullets were falling out, making a path. And Tarzan was following these bullets through the jungle to get to the guy's camp. And just as he went around the corner, this truck, the biggest truck that was ever made by man, came flying around the corner at 6,000 miles an hour, and it went off. And then the cinema closed down that week. So I don't know what happened. And this is 1963.
I'll give you a clue, mate. I think he jumped out the way.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. He jumped right out. He saw it and just jumped.
Sometimes those Tarzan movies would have some interesting special effects. I remember one where they used just a composite film to show a giant armadillo. I just remember this armadillo was the size of a stegosaurus, and it was just like, I was like, why is that armadillo so big? I don't remember the explanation. Maybe it was radiation, or it ate a bad mushroom or something.
That's like the mutant alligator episode of Thunderbirds.
Yeah, it was bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that alligator thing is awful, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just terrible.
But it's terrible in a great way, though. So I miss Super Marionation and all of this.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Those
Hammer horror films were great.
Those Thunderbirds movies are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I could watch them just forever. They're just and Captain Scarlet.
Yeah.
I remember seeing in the late 60s on American TV. I even remember the theme song.
Yeah.
Captain Scarlet. Dun, 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 dun. That's what I remember. It was great.
Sarah says thanks for answering about serials versus series. Yeah, series came later when TV, and even then, it was very episodic. Everything evolved out of those radio plays that I talked about earlier.
I just sent Sarah a friend request because she needs to pay attention to what I'm doing.
Charles, I was a Spectrum agent. We had a comic over here called TV Century 21, and you could become a Spectrum agent. So age 12, I was a Spectrum agent.
There you go. Yeah.
Did you have a card?
I did have a card, but I'm still trying to find it. It'll be around somewhere. But I was a Spectrum agent. Yeah.
Were the Abbott and Costello skits considered similar to the category of the Three Stooges? Also, I love Laurel and Hardy. I grew up watching those shows when I'd spend the night with my grandma. Yeah, well, they're just classics. All of that, the Abbott and Costello, the Three Stooges, the Marx Brothers, Laurel and Hardy, all came out of vaudeville. A lot of that stuff was staged, done, and driven. So you had all of these accomplished actors that would travel from city to city to city and do these stage not really reenactment, but skits, like your Who's on First skit really was developed on stage and then brought to radio. Everybody laughed, everybody loved it. Abbott and Costello were the rare group that were very photogenic, so they made the leap from radio and vaudeville stage to film. Same thing. Go ahead.
A lot of their humor was verbal, whereas So Abbott might slap Costello in the face, but he would never take a saw to his head like in the Three Stooges.
Yeah. Well, the Three Stooges were visual more because they knew that they were in the theaters. So you got a lot more physical slapstick humor like you would also have in vaudeville. That's where the seltzer bottle and the clown basically comes out of vaudeville with the large nose and the over-exaggerated hair and the colorful outfit. Not because it was funny to look at as much as they were easy to spot from the crowd. The same thing with the old minstrel singers would wear white cotton gloves so that they could stand out. You could see them from a distance.
I assume Mo Howard, that was his personality. When I was a kid, I just assumed they were those people. And then I saw an interview with Mo Howard on some talk show in the late 50s, early 60s. He was the most gentle, gracious, polite, urbane guy you could possibly imagine, and it fused my brain. I was like, wait a minute, that's Mo. He's supposed to be. He should be hitting the host not engaging in polite conversation with him. I just couldn't believe that this guy was not the Moe of the Three Stooges.
Just like the Marx Brothers. Sarah, if you ever get a chance to sit and watch Horse Feathers or Animal Crackers, do so. That the comedy level on that still holds up to this day, and it's just uproariously funny. And these are guys, longtime vaudeville actors who've done it for years on a stage, who brought their shtick to the cinema. And the Marx Brothers, especially, I showed my young daughter Marx Brothers to start with, not knowing if she would take to the humor or not, but she just loved them absolutely at a real young age, because there's a lot of craziness that's going on, and it's not slapstick violence that you get from the Three Stooges. There's still some physical comedy going on, but the old Marx Brothers films were set up to be more like variety shows. Every Marx Brother had their own specialty. They had an instrument that they knew how to play. That's how you got Harpo. Harpo knew how to play a harp. And the majority of that stuff was live. And if you've never seen Chico play the piano, it's definitely incredibly entertaining. So, and it's well worth your time to say. Animal Crackers, I would recommend to anybody. It's got the classic song right at the start where Groucho comes out and sings, "Hello, I must be going."
Which film is the one where they do the reflection, where they bounce to the side, and it's the other guy.
I'm not sure which one that is. I don't think it's Animal Crackers.
Right, it's not a reflection. It's one of the others dressed up in the same way, and they do the same thing like they're a reflection. That's quite incredible. That.
Animal Crackers. Groucho Marx plays a con man, big game hunter, who comes out and says the classic line, "I shot an elephant in my pajamas." How I got in my pajamas, I'll never know.
That's comedy.
That is comedy.
I'll tell you the funny thing on Laurel and Hardy that I love, apart from all of it, is when he's in the First World War and he's in that trench for 20 years and he goes to the retirement home and Ollie goes to pick him up and Stanley sits in that chair that's for a person with one leg, so he sits on one of his legs, and Ollie thinks he's lost his leg, and he's carrying him over the lawns, and all the sprinklers come on, and then they're rolling around, and then he picks him up, and he realizes he's got both legs. And that one where they have a party when he blows the house up, and he goes to see him, and the wives are away, and they have a party at Ollie's, and they blow the house up, and he's sitting in the chair, smouldering. And there's a door frame with a door on it. That's all there's left of the house. And Stan comes up the street and he goes through the door, and he says, it couldn't get any worse. And it goes and starts to rain.
Not minstrel, Sarah. Minstrel with an I. Minstrel show.
I think she's pulling our leg, which is there.
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah.
Yes.
How about the Sons of the Desert? That is the classic Laurel and Hardy. I could watch that every day.
When they go,
all of that stuff's so watchable. Even the bad Abbott and Costello movies.
Is that the one?
Watchable.
Is Sons of the Desert the one where they go to the convention and then they're on the film on the TV?
Yes, they have convinced their wives. They've convinced their wives that I think it's Stan is sick and they need he needs to go to Hawaii. He needs to go to Hawaii for a vacation, but they're actually going to a convention in Chicago. And then the wives they see a newsreel of the ship that they were supposedly on sinking. Yes.
This is funny. This is funny stuff.
Yeah,
and it's all 80 years old. This
then they have to sneak
That's the whole thing.
Then they have to sneak into their own houses when they get back.
Yeah,
and they're trying to convince their wives that they got out of the shipwreck, that they survived the shipwreck. And then the wives, I think, see newsreel footage of them at the convention. Yes, yeah. Spoiler alert! Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Marx Brothers was the beginning of situational comedy. Yeah. There were a few others, Bowery Boys, and all that.
The Bowery Boys,
Andrew Brothers, right? Andrew Brothers.
The Bowery Boys were pretty good at what do you call it? Malapropisms. When you use a word wrong, like we need to excrete ourselves from the situation.
Yeah.
My former partner's sister-in-law, when she got divorced, speaking of malapropism, when she got divorced, she signed on an Aphrodite
Oh, no.
And no kidding. And she wasn't joking. That's how she used to talk. And you know that dog. Listen, that dog. She would call a Doberman pincer. She sang on Aphrodite.
Archie Bunker had a great malapropism. He said, Edith is going to the groinecologist.
It's minstrel.
Yes, minstrel.
Minstrel.
But don't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah. they used to. That's part of early vaudeville, and you have to understand the context of those shows during that period. This is where blackface comes from, with the actor would put black grease paint all over his face and leave the lips white, not just to imitate a stereotype African American or black person at that time, but in order to be seen from a distance. And even the white gloves.
Even black actors were in blackface.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. And that was again, it's just like clowns in whiteface with the red nose. Again, that was to be seen from a distance, and long before they knew any.
And now, when they show a movie on Turner,
cultural offense,
when they show a movie on Turner Classics that has a blackface scene in it, they have to have a half an hour explanation before the movie, so we're not offended.
Yeah,
they have to explain this is the way it was, as if we can't figure that out for ourselves.
At times,
some people
out there need to hear that.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately,
we have actually moved on.
Yeah. Guess what? Things were different.
Yeah. A lot different. Yeah.
Although I doubt very much that British TV would have that on at all, let alone with a war.
Speaking of British TV and British comic strips, I had always seen.
Thanks for swinging it back around to comics.
Yeah, I like that. That was really good.
I had seen, way back when, that occasionally you would see a woman topless on British TV. Like even Monty Python did it very rarely. But there was I just discovered the Garth comic strip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
which had topless women in the daily newspaper.
You want to look up? Is it George and
Lynn?
George and Lynn. AXA always had a Baps out.
AXA,
that was it. That was what she did.
Yep.
AXA, and they were regulars in the Sun, weren't they? In the Sun.
The Sun
or the Mirror.
The Mirror, Sun and Star used to run those things.
Yeah, the Mirror had Garth too.
Yeah.
And Modesty Blaze occasionally.
Modesty Blaze,
not very often, but there was toplessness in that. There wasn't a driving force, but you really want to see topless comic strips. Look at the James Bond strips.
Yeah,
because
and there was also
after they got done adapting the Ian Fleming novels and took on the movies, it was difficult for the women to keep their tops on for some reason.
And there was another series called Carrie by Don Lawrence.
Don't know that one.
Don Lawrence,
who drew Trigon Empire. He knows how to draw. He knows how to draw beautiful.
That had to have been amazing.
And these were in normal daily newspapers, right?
Well, yeah, the Sun actually used to have a woman with her boobs out on page 3. That was the thing. Yes. That was what they had. So to have it in a strip was probably the lesser of two evils, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
either are evil.
No, nothing. There's nothing evil about a nipple. Okay,
nothing.
Nothing. But I, as far as British television is concerned, that after a certain time of night, there seems to be almost anything is allowed now. I mean, we have this show on here called Naked Attraction.
Oh my God!
Oh God, it's hideous. And literally, there's like 5 people or whatever it is. Somebody comes out to check them out, and they're naked, and the curtain kind of goes up, and you see everything from the bottom half up. Yeah, eventually,
Santino's taking notes here.
Yeah,
but it's not as if they're nice-looking people, is it?
No, not always. No. And then most of them are just average, like the rest of us. Like lumpy and wrinkled, and And then eventually
speak for yourself. Yeah.
Eventually they choose someone, and then once they've chosen them, they come out naked. It's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
It sounds like a freak show.
Yeah, it is really. I mean, but to be brutally honest, most of these things, or pretty much all in my opinion, if you want to be on the telly, there's something probably wrong with you.
So, like that, like you don't even tell it like that. There is.
Yeah.
Pop says old guys talking about boobs. Typical Sunday morning, LMAO. Welcome, folks, to the Sunday Funnies.
In all fairness, we're talking about
the lighthearted side of comics.
Boobs in comics.
Charles, have you only just discovered Garth?
Yes.
Oh.
Wow.
You're in for a treat.
I don't know how. I was looking for or at something online, and I just bumped into the strip, and I was like, wow, I didn't know this, and I immediately bought a collection, an oversized collection hardcover from the Mirror, and it was not just Garth; it was a lot of other stuff from the Mirror.
Excellent.
And I found it's actually pretty expensive, but I found a copy at a reasonable price. And I definitely did not want the color versions. There had been more recently there was some colorized versions of the strip that did not look great to me. So I got the black and white.
Were you aware of Frank Bellamy's artwork before?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the Modesty Blaze comic strip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But because I've got all of those in multiple reprints. They're
somehow
amazing.
Garth escaped my attention. I don't know how.
I interviewed Romero, who used to draw Modesty Blaze, the Spanish guy, and he told me that they had to get another artist in to make the bad women, so to speak, ugly, because he could only draw
beautiful women.
I believe that. Yeah,
it's true. It's what he says. Yeah. He knows. So it's just incredible. Yeah, it's just incredible that they would get. They didn't ask him to do it. They got somebody else to do it.
Well, they probably had asked him to do it.
Why can't
it's probably in the script, and they're like, no, that's she's too pretty.
Why can't evil women be beautiful as well?
Well, exactly.
There you go. Exactly. Good point.
Well, look at Kirby's evil women. They're beautiful, but in their beautiful evil way.
Yeah.
That's the
Romero just draws beautiful people. You know,
some of the most evil women I've ever met are beautiful.
Russ, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube as Comic Book Black Belt. You can see me on a Monday evening drawing. Most of it at the moment will be Only Death Can Save Us Book 2, which is live on the Indiegogo campaign at the moment. I think I'm up to 66 backers. Thank you very much, everybody who has backed so far. But I'm going to tell you now, I need to double it at least. So share it out there, get the word out, and give it some love. I think it's going to be an even better book than the first book. Okay, so Rick has done a fantastic job on that writing for me, and it's I'm having great fun putting it together now. You can see some of the artwork here. There you go. There's a bit of artwork there.
There we are. Look at that.
You can also find me on the Twitter and the Fleecebook and Minds and on the Instagram, so you can find me in those places. Please sign up to my email list. You can find that on any of my websites, russleach.com or onlydeathcansavus.com. That's about it. Thank you very much.
Sweet. And thanks again for coming on, Glenn.
Always fun.
Tell folks how they can find you, Glenn.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube drawing. Just put my name in. I'm drawing a few things on there. And all my books and magazines are on Amazon. You can find me on Facebook at Jack Kirby, King of Comics, Jack Kirby Fan Group, Steve Gitko Fan Group, and lots of others. Or you can reach me by email on comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com. And on Tuesday, I launch my Indiegogo project about my book and DVD about Jack Kirby. So watch out for that Tuesday morning. That's going to be launched, I guess it would be 8 a.m. EST in America. And it's at 1 p.m. for me on Tuesday, the 5th of October.
And just jump over to Amazon and look under Glenn with 2 N's, Fleming with 1 M.
That's right, yeah. You'll find. Well, if you look for Jack Kirby, A Personal Journey, Words and Pictures.
There you go. Yep. Charles, tell folks how they can find you.
Well, they can go to Indiegogo and look at Rammer, UR, which is now in demand. Here it is, printed, ready to go. So it's not only finished, it's printed. On Facebook, I'm Charles Santino, and there's also Rammer and Top's Tales of the Police State as a separate page. I'm on Twitter, and I think I'm on Instagram as well.
Sarah writes in, it says, seems like bad males usually have a mustache. That also goes back to those vaudeville days when the villain used to dress in black and have a mustache that they could twirl.
Yeah,
and they're usually English.
Yeah.
That goes as far back as Uncle Tom's Cabin and Dick Dastardly and yeah, what was his name on Beanie and Cecil? Oh, sorry, but look up Beanie and Cecil. You'll see the typical evil bad guy. He's all dressed in black and has a mustache that he can twirl, and he goes, Dishonest John. That's the guy's name because he used to go, it is I, Dishonest John. Yeah.
Did Boris Badenoff have a mustache? I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe he did. He had a short one. Yeah.
I think Boris Johnson should get a mustache.
Moose and squirrel.
To go with that haircut.
He's moose and squirrel. Yeah. Sarah says, I love the British accent of saying Amazon.
Amazon.
What's wrong with you? That's how you say it.
You must be from different parts of the UK.
Yeah, we must be about, 150 miles apart?
Oh, an hour apart. You're an hour away from each other. You're only an hour away.
It was funny because a few weeks ago we did to say to you, Randy, that if I drove or flew 800 miles south, I'd be in Paris.
Yeah.
Or Milan. And you said you wouldn't be out of the state.
If I flew 800 miles, I would probably be close to Memphis.
Right.
Maybe.
It may have been 300 miles then.
Yeah,
still
about 100 miles to take me out of the state.
Still in the middle of the country, yeah.
Dead south, yeah. On the other hand, Varian's in South Dakota. It takes him 12 hours to drive at least from where he's at in order to get over there.
Aren't you only ever 50 miles from the coast in the UK or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, it's the same thing here in Michigan, only our water is fresh.
Yeah. What does it take? What does it take to drive across Texas? Is it about 12 hours to drive across Texas or something?
A lot of cojones. No.
Yeah.
And a little bit of guts and a lot of gas. There we go.
Depends whether you stop. How fast you go.
Yeah, depends on how fast you go.
You can go pretty fast. There are some highways there you can go 85 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Last year they have, and I'm sure you've seen the movie Gumball Rally. That's actually a thing. And last year, when everybody was under restrictions, the guys figured out, hey, there's nobody on the roads. Let's go. And they actually drove from coast to coast within like 21 and a half hours.
Wow.
Superb.
The fastest
of the United States, from New York to California.
The fastest I ever drove in Texas was in a police car, and I'll tell you about that another time.
Okay, something to look forward to.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, they caught they caught one guy on the road because the rules of Gumball Rally is that if the cops get you have to take it and take the ticket. They clocked him at like 220. Wow, I'm not kidding. Just
wings it take off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's where you have somebody that's driving with you. You have a porta potty and 2 large tanks of gas in the back.
Surely it doesn't count if Dom DeLuise isn't there.
If what?
If Dom DeLuise isn't there.
There you go. Yeah, it hasn't counted ever since. No, you start from a certain bar and you end up at a certain bar, and they tell you when they leave, and they tell them when they get there. That's their time, and they'll never have an opportunity like that again unless we have another bug. But there wasn't anybody on the roads except for your occasional policeman.
Hey, speaking of the bug,
gone.
Speaking of the bug, do you know how many variants there are?
Is this a joke?
No.
Okay. No.
As many as Big Pharma want there to be.
There are literally thousands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Millions.
And Delta is one of 4 that they're particularly concerned about. There's Alpha, Delta, there's Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta variants, and those 4 are the ones that they're most concerned about, with Delta being the one that seems to be the one that's in the news. But this is no different than any virus that's ever come around.
It's very difficult to tell them apart because it's hard to spread their legs. and see what the
yeah. They're proteins.
Woo!
Sarah says police car story tease. Now I want to know. Ha ha ha. Anyway,
the story's too long for now.
Yeah,
too long for now. We are overtime already.
Glenn on that one. Yeah.
We want to thank everybody for listening. We want to thank all of our guests and
thanks for
everybody out there in the radio that has put up with us for the last 2 hours. We've entertained you. Hope we've informed you a little bit, given you a little something to think about and look for or look to. Definitely go out there and check with your local retailer. They need your help as much as they possibly can. Spend a couple hours if you can. Go through their long boxes, find some great gems, and enjoy the fun that is comics, sequential art, comic strip collections, anything that your retailer has to offer. That's a combination of words and pictures. We can't tell you how much we love this industry that we're in and all of the different aspects that surround it: movies, television, everything else that's inspired by it. This is a great art form, and we can't talk about it enough, as you can tell, since we've already run 10 minutes over. So now, again, we thank you for listening very much. We want to remind you that we will be back on Tuesday night with Varian and his stories about being at Sioux Falls and the SuperCon over there in the middle of literally in the middle of the country, and in the north middle of the country. And you can catch that on the Live Wire program at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on IndieVolt, the IndieVolt Network, and YouTube, Facebook, and all of that. Thursday mornings, we also do the Breakfast Buzz with myself and Varian, maybe Russ and Daphne, whoever we can get to come on the air with us as we talk about comics and the industry again, usually in a more serious light and more industry-oriented type talk. Saturday afternoons, Brandon runs Pitches Be Crazy, where people who have Indiegogos or Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaigns that want to raise awareness for those campaigns, we have them pitch them in very unusual ways. It's a very variety-oriented comedy program. Glenn's laughing because he's done it.
You've got to be careful on that show.
You do have to be careful on that show.
Expect the unexpected.
That's at 2:30 on Saturday afternoons, Eastern Standard Time. And of course, all of our programs are archived over on YouTube. So feel free to go over there and enjoy those as much as you'd like or can stand. So let me make sure I haven't forgotten anything on our way out the door. We want to remind folks that with crowdfunding campaigns, that if they go over to Gemini Comics Supply and buy Gemini mailers, because the most dependable way to fulfill your campaigns is with those Gemini mailers in order to keep your products secure and mail out to your backers. On your way out from Gemini Comics Supply and buying your Gemini mailers, use the code VOLT10, VOLT10, and receive 10% off of your purchase. And now, especially considering how shipping rates are jumping, that 10% is going to come in very handy. And we can't thank the people over at Gemini Mailers enough for allowing us to do that with them. We also want to point out Liberty Entertainment Distribution, www.ledg.us. That is a alternative and independent comics distributor that is very unique to the industry. You're not ordering 3 months in advance. Anything that you order off of the Liberty Comics site, it's made for direct shop retailers and people who want to carry comics. Just go over there and sign up. Anything that you order from Liberty is in the mail, usually the next day, and heading your way for you to put on the shelf and to sell to your customers directly.
There is no other distributor doing what they're doing.
There's nobody working the way that they do, and they're gaining new product constantly. So you're going to want to go over and sign up and get ready for that. Everything that Arrow Comics does is available through Liberty Entertainment Distributors, and there will be a lot more content coming as soon as this paper shortage straightens itself out a little bit. We will have more product out there as soon as possible. Believe me, we can't wait. Right now, we have the IndieVolt Revolt book available, and I believe that's available online right now. Hero Bot Zero that I've done myself. It's the stories of a 3-foot tall giant robot fighting large monsters and defending his city. Luke Stone's Hybrids, and we really want to put our thoughts and prayers towards Luke Stone. He's still in the hospital in Florida on a respirator fighting COVID as we speak. And of course, Only Death Can Save Us that Russ Leach puts together. It's a 32-page floppy available for $4.99. Very high quality printing. It's a real pretty book. And I can't recommend that enough. As soon as we get the next batch printed, Paragon #1 will be available. That's a great modern superhero story that I wrote that has artwork by J.R. Harris, and Calico of Shard, which is a fantasy adventure book I can't wait for you to read. I'm very excited about the project. It's a eclectic mix of like fantasy-based characters, and I promise it's not as slow as Lord of the Rings. It's a lot of fun.
Couldn't be.
Yeah, about the adventures of a little cat, a crazy collecting elf, a female warrior centaur, and a barbarian fairy, and an old wizened wizard as they go about trying to put their world back together. And it's a lot of fun. So I can't wait for you to read it. Also in the back of those books are the adventures of Ginger Star. And we mentioned serials earlier in the program. This is very much patterned after those old theatrical serials where a young girl is off on a campus or a college internship at an archaeological site and gets teleported into a fantastic world of jetpacks and fins and crazy spaceships, and very much like a combination of Lara Croft and Flash Gordon. We can't wait for you to read those as well. So other than that, I think that's it. Make sure you tune into Indie Volt Radio. Look for Arrow Comics. Tell your retailer about Liberty. Tune back in next Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for another edition of Sunday Funnies, as we talk about the more fun and lighthearted part of comics. Going out the door, we want to thank Pops for putting up those links once again for all of the products from our guests. LEDG.com, Liberty Entertainment Distributor. I'll pop that back up again. There we are. And in order to do that, I have to take out her comment because you can't read the address. LEDG.us for Liberty Entertainment. Says, I want to check it out and share with my comic shop owner. Yes, Sarah, please do. There's a lot more great stuff coming from them constantly. There we are, Pops. Thanks, Pops, once again. Want to thank everybody. We're going out the same way we came in. We want to, again, thanks everybody out there in Radio Land listening to us on Indie Volt Radio, indievolt.com. We deeply appreciate you out there. Varian is away from the console this morning, so I'm not sure how many of you are out there listening this morning, but I know there's a lot of you, and we deeply appreciate each and every one of you from all over the world. So have a great rest of your morning, great rest of your afternoon, evening, great rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Oh, and before we go, we want to tell you to buy independent and alternative comics, especially ours, as Daphne would say, and to please leave this industry in a better condition than what you found it.
Done and done.
Done and done. Hopefully so. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.
Daphne, do we have something we want to add to this?
Yeah.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.